How's it going, Scrub Gamers? We're back here at ScrubGames with another video, and we're once again back with the next installment of my Understanding How to Build series, where we go over all the leaders in a given set to help you understand how to build them to suit you and your playstyle. Now, for this one, we're going to go over the Quinlan Vos leader, so if you're interested, stay tuned. And also, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to keep updated with my channel. And also, remember, you can click the notification bell to get alerts for when my videos do drop, so you can watch them there and then, or at a later time that suits you best. Now, that out of the way, we're going to jump in and go over helping you understand how to build Quinlan Vos, because this is our last leader from the main set, so let's check it out. So, first things first, we're going to start with the leader, as it's a leader-based game, Star Wars Unlimited, and as such, you can't play without one. And they're usually what you're going to build your deck around, because some are generic, and some are quite focused on a specific kind of trait or game plan. Now, for this leader, it's Quinlan Vos. He is one of the Cunning heroic leaders. So he's in yellow and white, and he is Quinlan Vos sticking the landing. So if you're unsure where this character's from, then don't worry, you're not alone, because I also don't really know where to. I think I've seen him in the Clone Wars in one of the episodes. I'm not sure, but he's not one of the most, like, if you're not massive about the Star Wars lore, he's probably not one of the most, like, he's not one of those most common ones you probably see, like the ones you are more aware of if you just are a little bit in Star Wars. But he does provide you with some good aspects and also some pretty good traits, because he's also, because he's a Jedi, he's got the Force trait, Jedi trait, and Republic trait. So he's got benefits from the Force, the new benefits from Republic and Jedi from the current set and set 3. And also when he deploys as early as turn 5. Also, it's 5 resources, so as early as turn 4, which is a really good one. There's a lot more leaders that deploy turn almost 5 resources, which is nice. Since Boba's banned, suspended, there's more space for them. And also he comes down with pretty solid stats at 3 power and 4 health, just like Django, which is pretty cool. He's also got the effect, just like Cad Bane, about doing damage, but is a little bit different to how Cad Bane does it, because it's not regarding a certain trait, it's at the cost of the unit you play. So when he's in the leader area, his effect is when you play a unit, you can exhaust this leader, and if you do, you deal 1 damage to an enemy unit that costs the same as the played unit. So if you play a unit, you can ping 1 damage to something that costs exactly the same. So if you play a 2 cost, you can ping damage to a 2 cost, essentially like that. So nothing lower than is got the exact same cost as the card you play. And then we've got Quinlan Vos when he deploys, and he's got the same thing when you play a unit, but now it's as many times you play a unit, not just once, because when you can't exhaust the leader more than once, really. But when you play a unit, you can deal 1 damage to an enemy unit that costs the same as or less than the played unit. So now it's got a little bit of a buff, same kind of thing, so same kind of effect, except now you don't have to exhaust the leader. But now it can hit multiple times and also hits things less than the cost of the card. So if you play, like, say, a 7 drop, you can hit anything that's 7 or less with 1 damage, thanks to Quinlan. And a nice thing this in comparison to Cad Bane is that you get to choose what you pin the damage on. So a really nice one, and I really like this leader because it's a Jedi, a Force leader, which is pretty cool, with solid stats and in nice traits as well. Like one of the best, well, not traits, but also the aspects, which is one of my favorites, being Cunning. So also do note that, like with every leader in this set, even the starter deck ones, we get a showcase, and he looks a little bit different in the showcase because, I mean, this is what he actually looks like in this series, whereas the other one, like, he looks more green with green hair, which looks pretty cool, but it looks quite different compared to the other one. Whereas other leaders, they look the same in both. Not same, but you can tell they're similar. But this one, he looks a little bit different than in the showcase. But once again, showcases are just different arts, and with art is all subjective. So if you like it, that's fair enough. If you don't like it, also fair enough. Because the only opinion that matters when it comes to different arts is yourself, because you're the one who's been playing the card. Now you've covered the leader, we're going to go to some basic information to help out and provide as much information as possible to any brand new players who may be watching and want to try out Quinlan Vos. So stay tuned for the basic information, but if you're a veteran player and you feel you don't need this basic information, then feel free to check out the description below, because it has timestamps that allow you to skip to different parts of the video that you're more looking forward to or more here for, and they're also noted for ease of reference for you as well. So without the way, let's go and check out some basic information. And the first bit of basic information we're going to go over is the bases. Now, along with your leader, you have a base, which is a never mandatory piece that you have along with your leader, as is part of how you win or lose the game and provides you with that third aspect for play. Now, there are currently 2 types of bases as a set 3. They are the rare bases, which you can see on the left here. They have lower health than the normal bases, so the common bases, but they compensate for that by having an effect. It can be an effect that is an epic action, which, like your leaders deploy, can trigger once a game. It could be a continuous effect that's always in play, like Petronaki Arena here, which gives a leader boost, just permanently gives a leader boost. Or it could be a one that triggers when a certain action happens, like when deploying a leader. Now, those are the rare bases, and alongside those, we have the Evercana base, which is the common base, which are all just 30 health bases, no effects, and they differ in name, location, art, and aspect. Now, we're going to go over the bases to kind of give you a look-see of what you kind of got. And we'll start off with the rare bases, because there are currently 8 in the game. So, 8 bases, we got 4 from set 1, being the top row, none in set 2, which made for pretty nice stuff when pulling cards that didn't replace your rares in the pack. And then we got the third set, giving us never 4, being the bottom row. Now, the difference between them is the top row, which is the set 1 ones. They're more competitive focused. They also all have the same health at 25 health, and all their actions are epic actions that, 1, require you to take an action to trigger them, and all, as well, for 2, don't basically interact with a leader, necessarily. Now, for the set 3 ones, which is the bottom row, those are more Twin Suns focused bases because they will affect your leader, either a continuous leader or when your leader deploys. And in Twin Suns, you get 2 leaders, so you get more benefits out of them. Now, they also have different varying healths as well, and we can go over them quickly. So the first set ones, 20 health base, epic action, auto interactive leader, and you get varying uses of them, like ECL being the green one, and the conversion lab. That one was probably the best used or the biggest base in the game for the first 2 sets, and it's still very strong because Ambush is a very amazing skill, like one of the best skills, and giving it to a unit of 6 or less by as long as you pay the cost is great. And then you've got Jealousy being the least used one because its effect isn't that great for what it wants to do, so it's rarely used. And even like now, Tarkin Town is getting a lot more play as a set 3 with some of the deck choices and leaders, so that one's on the rise as well. And then for the set 3 ones, you've got the different variations of them. Like you got 2 of them that are continuous effects, and also have the highest health for a rare base, the 26 being the blue and yellow ones. They both provide your leader with a stat boost as long as you control your leader in play. So once your leader's deployed, they get a stat boost, with the blue one giving an extra 1 health, and Petronaki Arena being the yellow one giving an extra 1 power. Those could be nice ones. And then you have the other 2 which trigger when you deploy a leader, being Droid Manufactory at the lowest health of 24, and Should I Collect a Camp at 25 health as well for the red one. So the green one is pretty interesting because it gives you 2 Battle Droid tokens when your leader deploys. And this could be handy because it helps with both the new traits, well no not traits, but new skills in the game, being Exploit, which is more of a dark side one, and Coordinate, which is a more light side one. Now, Exploit, the dark side one, is all about defeating your own units to make a unit you're playing cost a little bit less. So cheapening the cost of a unit you're playing by defeating your own units. So having 2 Battle Droid tokens allows you to have fodder there to defeat things, and make something played a little bit cheaper. Now, Coordinate is a light side skill, and it triggers by having a certain amount of units on board, normally being 3 or more, and it allows you to trigger that skill. So having 2 Battle Droid tokens goes towards 2 out of the 3 units you need on play to trigger those skills. And then you've got Shadow Collector Camp, and it literally just draws your card when you need to deploy. And card draw isn't amazing in this game, like it's not the be-all end-all, and it's not that dominant, but it could be handy if you feel that could be useful. But talking about usefulness, if you feel like none of these bases are kind of beneficial to what you want to do, or you don't feel, or you do feel that the health on the base being lower is not really worth the effect, then you can always go for a common base, which are also known as vanilla bases. These are all, like I said, 30 health bases that are in different aspects, and all the only difference is the name, location, art, and aspect. So since there's nothing in set 3 that benefits from having a certain name or location, you might as well just go for whatever art you prefer in that aspect and use that. Now these are some of my favourite ones. I like to have 2 different ones in each aspect, because I have one for the dark side leaders and one for the light side leaders, and these are my preferred arts. So hopefully for these ones, if you get them, just pick your favourite art in that aspect and just play with those. For the next bit of information, and the basic information we've got, is the aspects, because in this game there are 6 aspects which are on your leaders, based in mostly all cards, and you do have some cards that don't have aspects. And these aspects are as follows. You've got the colour aspects, which are Vigilance, the blue one, Command, the green one, Aggression, the red one, and Cunning, the yellow one. These are your 4 colour aspects, and we'll go over a little bit what they kind of want to do, their kind of playstyle. And you've got the other 2 aspects, which are usually accompanied with one of the other aspects, one of the other colour ones, or on their own as well. And these ones are always on your leader, but not on your bases. And they are Villainy, which is the black one, which stands for Control and Destruction, and features most of the antagonists of the Star Wars universe. Then you have Heroism, being the white aspect, which features more peace and justice, giving you the protagonists on the Star Wars on their cards. Now, with these 6 aspects, like I said, they have a specific style of play. With heroism, you're more rebellious in your effects, you play more aggressive, and with villainy, you're more controlling, so you play more more destructive, so you play more of a control focus with that. But now we're going to go over the 4 other aspects and kind of understand what they want to do to see if which one suits your kind of playstyle. So we've got Vigilance, which is the blue one. This allows you to play defensively with the ability to heal, remove units of play, or protect your base. And it's a perfect aspect for anybody who likes patient playstyles that can endure almost anything. So it sounds like you're up your alley. Then go ahead and go with Vigilance, the blue one. Then you've got Command, and this one allows you to accelerate your resources and call upon lots of units or strengthen the units you already have in play. Now, this is a perfect choice for anybody who wants to overwhelm their opponent with a massive board presence because you've got the ramp, you've got the big units, a great way to play. So if that is up your alley as well, go ahead and try Command. Then you've got Aggression, and you might be thinking this is just the aggro one, but it could be because I think in most games you have red as the aggression one, but aggro is more in the heroic trait, but you do have some aggression in terms of like damage output from aggression. Because what I want to do is attack with maximum efficiency and deal out loads of damage, and it's a perfect aspect for people who like fast-paced playstyles, and also like to throw damage at your opponent until they achieve victory. That can be by effects or by attacks, up to you. So if that sounds like it's something you kind of like, then you can go ahead and try Aggression. And that brings us to the last one, being Cunning, which is the one that Quinlan Vos already has on him. He's already a leader that is in the Cunning trait. And Cunning is a jack of all trades one, and it's my favourite one as well. And it's one that allows you to adapt to any situation on the fly with powerful and immediate effects. It also has lots of tools for disrupting your opponent's game plan as well. Now, it's a perfect fit for anybody, if you're like me, who likes to respond to quick threats quickly and have an answer for almost anything your opponent could throw at you. So if that sounds like you, then cool. You're playing Quinlan, or looking to play Quinlan, which has that trait, or you can even go for double Cunning if you wanted to with a Cunning base. So that is the aspects, but before we go on to the next bit, we're going to quickly just have a look at the aspect combos, because with a base you get a third aspect, and these are the 4 different ones you can have. So with Quinlan Vos you get the white and yellow, but if you go for a blue base you get white, yellow, blue. If you go for a green base you get white, yellow, green. With a red base you get white, yellow, and red, and then if you go for a Cunning base you get white and double yellow. Now, before we go into the benefits of what each of these aspect combos provide you with this leader, we're going to quickly talk about one important part of the aspects, being the aspect penalty. Now, what the aspect penalty is, if you're wondering, it's essentially a penalty. Like it says, a penalty on the cost of a card. Because in this game, you can put any card in your deck, but when it comes to playing it, that's where the aspect penalty comes in. So I got this handy dandy guide because I like to improve this series to kind of give you a visual representation of when this will be in effect and give you examples of like the different things of it. So we've got an example here with Quinlan Vos with a blue leader, with a blue base, giving us the white, yellow, and blue aspect. And what the aspect penalty does is if any aspects on the card you want to play don't match what's on your leader and base, so in this case if they're not white, yellow, or blue, you have to pay additional 2 resources for every aspect that doesn't match what's on your leader base. So for the first example, if you want to play a card where the aspects on it match what's on your leader and base, so they're in the top box, you pay it for its just pretty cost, and that's it. Job's done. But if you want to play a card where one of the aspects on the card doesn't match what's on your leader and base, and we got this example with the second box, then you have to pay an additional 2 resources on top of the cost. So if a card was a 2-cost card, but one of the aspects doesn't match, then you pay an additional 2 on top, making it a 4-cost. Now that brings us to the more costly one. So if you have a card where both the aspects has got 2 aspects and both of them don't match what's on your leader base, you have to pay a whopping 4 extra cost to it. So like I said, if you had a 2-cost card but it had 2 aspects that don't match what's on your leader base, you have to pay an extra 4 cost on top. So that turns a 2 cost into a 6 cost because those aspects don't match. And we got a visual representation of this. So we got the top box being no additional cost, second box 2 additional costs, and last box being 4 additional costs with this aspect ratio combo of your leader and a blue base. Now do note that while the aspect penalty is going to make a card more costly, sometimes it's still worth paying an extra cost for the card's effect. A great example is some of the double aspect events in each aspect, which give you 4 effects, and you choose any of the 2, and then you resolve them, and usually 4-cost card, but sometimes you don't want to play double aspect just to play them, so some people will still play those cards in dual aspect decks, and still play the extra 2 cost, turning it from a 4 to a 6, because the effect's still worth playing that 2 cost. So do bear that in mind when playing the game and building your decks. Now, for the last bit of basic information before we move on to the more specific about the aspect combos, is ratios, because in every game you can have a certain amount of copies of any given card. And for Star Wars Unlimited, you can have up to 3 copies of a card. So we're going to kind of quickly go over when you would want 3, 2, or 1 copies and kind of the reasons why. So start off with 3 copies. This is the ratio to help maximize the likelihood the desired card will be in your hand when needed. And our examples are being cards you want to play on the first turn of the game, or cards you want to see multiple copies over the course of the game. So a good example here is R2-D2 being a very nice card. It's a very nice card you can play on the first turn, and is really useful because its effect allows you to dig a little bit deeper into your deck to find something you're looking for through its effect by discarding a card, looking at the top 3, and adding one to your hand from those 3, and then putting the other 2 on the bottom of your deck in a random order. So things like that, like first turn plays, might want to maximize, so you can make sure the opening with something to do, rather than just missing an entire turn by not having anything to do. Then you got 2 copies of a card, and now this is the ratio usually for cards that aren't great to draw early in the game, but you still want to go through multiple copies over the course of the game, or at least see one of the copies eventually when you can use it. Now examples of this are being the boss cards or high costing cards, and I use Rivals Full as my main example because it's probably one of the best removal events, because there's a 6 cost one that defeats any unit, and one thing in this game is it's difficult to take out leaders with events, because usually the cheaper they are, the more restrictive, but the more costly, the later you can use them, but then the less restrictive they are. And Rebels Fall is a nice one because it can hit a leader, which you can't normally do with some things. You do have some cheaper ones like Follow the Dragon and Takedown, but those have restrictions. Like Follow the Dragon can take out any unit that's not a leader as long as it's got 5 or more power. Now Takedown can take out any unit as long as its health is 5 or less. Now for Takedown, if a unit's health is higher than 5, you can't hit it unless you weaken it earlier, but you've got to spend time weakening it so you can hit with that. And Follow the Dragon, if a unit has 4 or less power or as a leader, you can't hit it. So it has some restrictions, but Rivals Fall can just hit anything at a cost of 6 and just instantly defeat it. So very handy there. And then it brings us to Restock, which is my example for 1 copy of a card. Now, 1 copy of a card is usually the ratio for cards that are added to a specific deck in order to counter a specific situation or anything, really. And it is sometimes even for tech choices that people might want to chuck in but aren't sure if they're going to work. Now, my main example, like I said, is being the card Restock, because it's added to decks to help counter hard control decks. Because in this game, the only way to win is by dealing enough damage to your opponent's base equal to their health. So a 30 health base requires 30 damage. But there's another way to do damage, because in this game, unlike most games, deck out is not an alternative win. If you do deck out and no longer draw cards, when you would go to draw a card, you take 3 damage for every card you can't draw. So at the end of the turn in the regroup phase, if you can't draw 1 card out of the 2, you take 3 damage. If you can't draw both, you take 6 damage. So hard control decks will focus on controlling the game, making sure they're always in control throughout the game, and get to a point where you deck out, and then you start taking damage from not being unable to draw cards. Now, Restock counters that by allowing you to put up the 4 cards upon your discard at the bottom of your deck in a random order. And with how the game works, you can put Restock as one of those cards on the bottom, and that allows you to keep replenishing your deck and then recycle Restock over and over, preventing that deck out damage and making it so hard control decks have to find a different way to kind of defeat you. So hopefully that's helped you understand what with the ratios when you want 3, 2, or 1 copies of a card. And then with that all out the way, let's go and check out some of these aspect combos. So with the aspects, I'd like to go with the double aspect first, because back in set 1, this was something that really only one leader could play effectively, and wasn't always the best way to play. But now with a third set, you get triple the amount of cards in all different aspects and combos, so now it's viable for every leader to play at a decent capacity. And double Cunning was one of the probably the best one in set 1 and even in set 2, and in set 3 is still a decent option as well. Now you get some pretty nice cards, but remember you're sacrificing a whole other aspect to have access to these 9 cards. And these 9 cards are the top left, being the set 1 ones, being Bodhi Rook, Continued Bounce, and Cunning. These are very nice ones, and the reason these were like the best ones for it, all were playable, because you had Bodhi Rook being a solid stats for its cost, and being about hand control by when you played, look at your opponent's hand and ditch anything that's a non-unit card. So it could be any event or any any upgrade. This is really nice because you can get rid of things like resupply against his ramp decks, or any cards that are just annoying to have, like any events or upgrades that your opponent had. You also have Cantina Bouncer, which is like a Waylay, but with a body, because it costs a bit more at 5, but it had the same effect as Waylay, but bounced any non-leader unit back to the hand, but provided with a unit on board as well to then basically establish presence. And then you had Cunning, and now every aspect had one of these, has one of these events, which is a 4-cost event, double aspect, named after the aspect it's in, and give you 4 options, and you can use any 2 of those options in any way you like. And then Cunning has the best ones because it ranges for different things like resting stuff, discard, like boosting, discarding, things like that. Very useful, very versatile. Now these 3 cards together made for double yellow to be an actual viable option set 1. And then with set 2, you had the new ones, well those ones up in the top right, being the new additions, being New Adventure, Final Shadow, and a DJ. Now you might be thinking, DJ's not a double aspect card. But if you look closely, the smuggle cost is double aspect, making it still technically a double aspect, but used mainly via smuggle, because that's why you want to play, because its effect only triggers when you smuggle it in. So there we go. And with these cards, pretty nice, like New Adventure being able to bounce back any 6-cost or less unit on the board back to the hand, and you can replay it out. So it can make nice combos like reusing things that only have a 1-played effect, so you can trigger again, or things that Fet Fire Spray in Django and Boba, because that's a unit, well, if you have Django or Boba as a leader, it comes in ready, so then you're able to swing with it if it's been established for a turn, bounce it back, so it comes back in ready and swing again. A nice little way to like push more damage for a cheap cost. Then you had Final Showdown being a nice way to restand everything, so you can basically attack with everything, restand and tackle again. But the downside is if you don't win the game that same turn you play this, you lose the game. So it's a nice way to kind of catch your opponent off guard. When they think you're done, you just basically restand everything and then swing for game. But it's a very costly one, but could be niche in certain situations. Then we got DJ. Now this is a card that really works best with the hand leader for set 1. Because what it does is when you smuggle him in, you get to take your opponent's resource, but when he leaves the board, the resource gets returned. Now you don't want to give back a resource, so it's always used with hand, because hand has an effect where you can discard a card from your hand. Well, you can temporarily ramp from your hand, but at the end of the turn, you've got to kill off that resource you temporarily made. But the nice thing about DJ is you can use Ham's ramp to ramp a card from hand temporarily, then smuggle on DJ, take on your opponent resources, they're down, you're then up by 2 resources thanks to hand DJ, they're down by 1. At the end of the turn when you've got to destroy one of your resources, you destroy the one that DJ took, so now if he gets removed from the board, they get nothing back. Now they're down a resource and you've permanently ramped, so you've gone up by 1, they've got down by 1. A very annoying play. And the more you do for the turn, the more your opponent's down on resources while you're up, and up. Now with set 3, you've got some new ones in Jar Jar Binks, Chancellor Palpatine, and Propriety Amongst Thieves. These are the new ones you've got from set 3, and they're not that impressive compared to the older sets. Because you've got Jar Jar Binks, which is cool, but its effect is completely random and isn't just on your opponent, it's on you as well. So he's a pretty cool unit, a pretty nice statted unit for turn 1. But when he attacks, you can deal 2 damage to a random unit or base. So that can basically hit you, your opponent. So it can either, when he swings, he's doing 2 damage to your base, your opponent's base, himself, or a unit either you or your opponent control. So you can get lucky, you can get unlucky, but it's good to play him depending if you like chance. If you like chance, give it a try. If you don't like chance, avoid him. And then with Chancellor Palpatine is quite nice, where he is a pretty good statted 4-cost, and whenever you create a clone token, any token units, they come in ready, and he can create them himself by 1 attacking. If a unit left played this phase, which is either like bounce back to hand or defeated, you create a clone token, so that token will come inactive and attack straight away, which is cool. But isn't that great? But then he is pretty nice. But then there are some ways to kind of move things off board. But then is it worth the space in a double Cunning deck? And then we've got Propriety Among Thieves. Now this is a cool trick, but it costs 4, and essentially it's very wordy. But essentially the effect is you pick one of your active units, both one your opponent controls and one you control, switch position, end of the turn if they're still there, they switch back. So you can essentially just switch your little unit inactive for your opponent's big units, and then if you can ram your opponent's unit you just took into one of the units that die and yours doesn't, you get yours back, your opponent doesn't, essentially that kind of thing. You just switch control of units, but they have to be in active modes. It's got some restrictions, and it's just very big worded for this kind of effect. It's not that great, but it's an option. So if you like double Cunning, which could be pretty nice with Quinlan, I would recommend to go ahead and try it and see how it does, but this is what you get. Now before we go on to the aspect benefits that you get from the base, we're going to first go over what Quinlan offers you, because remember he has aspects in Cunning and Heroic, so we're going to have a look at the Heroic side of Cunning and just Cunning cards. Now if you wanted to go double Cunning like we've just discussed, you can go with these bases. You've got Petronac Arena and Jeddah City. Now Jeddah City isn't a great one, so I wouldn't recommend it. But Petronakaria could be useful. It gives Quinlan a boost because he gives an extra 1 power while he's deployed, which puts him with Boba level stats when he deploys. But I'm not sure if that's worth it, because unless you're putting with blue or green, you don't really have much heal, and you're a low health total. But it could be up to you if you want to go ahead and try it. Now, for the heroic side, you got some pretty nice units. You got some cool earlier turn ones like Grogu, R2, Falcon, and Ahsoka. These are pretty cool units that have nice benefits, like Grogu and R2 are nice turn 1 units that you can then next turn play. Now there are 2 of them, and offers nice effects like Grogu gets to rest things, while R2 digs a little bit deeper in deck. And then you got Millennium Falcon and Ahsoka for those turn 2 onwards play, which are pretty nice for both space or for the ground. And Ahsoka, same stats as what we've seen with Ezra, but she can potentially get ambushed if you're lower on units, including herself when she's played. And she can always bounce herself back to hand by paying 2, return everything on her plus herself back to hand. So she's almost ready to be defeated. You can bounce her back out so you can play her back fresh. And you got Falcon that can come in active, but there's attacks to keep on the board, and United attacks is to pay 1 to keep it on the board during the regroup phase. Now for higher units, you have some pretty cool ones like Plo Koon and Han Solo, being cards that both can ambush, so you can attack the same turn they're played, and have nice benefits in Plo Koon being a cheaper one that can deploy when Dryden is deployed. And if you have 2 other units when he's on the board, he gains raid 3, so he attacks and gains 3 more power, so he swings for 6, which could be pretty cool. And then you got Han Solo, which is a more costly one at 7, but not only does he have ambush and pretty good stats, he also has the shoot first kind of effect. So if he attacks, he does damage before the defender. So if the damage he would deal defeats the unit, that unit would be defeated before it deals damage back, so Han would take nothing back. Pretty nice there. And you got some pretty cool events like Spark Rebellion and Bamboozle. Spark Rebellion being a nice little hand control one, you can enter it as turn 1 to let you look at your opponent's hand and rip a card out of your choice, and Bamboozle being a card you can use to exhaust the unit and put anything equipped on it like experience or upgrades or even shields back to your opponent's hand, and then and it's rested. And you can also play this card for free instead of paying its cost by using its ever effect, discard a Cunning card instead of paying its cost. Now for the non-heroic side of Cunning, you've got some pretty cool ones. You've got some pretty cool units like Greedo, Crafty Smuggler, Favorable Delegate, and Hidden Sharpshooter. These are pretty nice. Like, you've got Greedo and Crafty Smuggler being nice turn 1 units, with Crafty Smuggler coming in shielded, so he's got a protection on play. And then you've got Greedo being a nice, powerful unit, very fragile, but if he's defeated, you can mill top card of your deck, and if it's an event, deal 2 damage to your ground units, so like hit back. Then you got Favorable Delegate, allowing you to kind of boost your hand size by drawing a card when it's played. But if it's defeated, you will lose a card. You have to discard a card from your hand. But it's very bulky with not much power, but it's a nice way to set up. Now there are 2 of them to bring out any like official or Republic unit a little bit cheaper. Like say if you play this turn 1, play something bigger turn 2. And then you've got Hidden Sharpshooter being a pretty cool Republic ambush clone, buying a 4-cost 4/3 that can ambush so it can attack the same turn as played. And then you've got some pretty nice cards that aren't in units, being like upgrades and events, like Jetpack would be a nice one, giving a power boost and also temporary shield. So it either protects that unit so it can attack the base at a higher power, or clash with your opponent's units and then survive the battle due to the shield. And you can even smuggle it out as well. Then you've got some nice events, because events in Cunning are very good. You've got Surprise Strike, which is a unit event that allows you to attack for more power for that attack. So pretty nice there, attack for 3 more power. Waylay that can bounce back any unit on board back to the hand, and then as long as it's not a leader. And then now there are 2 of them, being a way to cheat out a unit a little bit higher as long as you can only control 1, and it can bring out something a little bit cheaper, costing 5 less. So as long as you control 1 unit, you can play a non-vehicle from your hand with the same trait as the Sound Like unit. So that's why you got some of these cards for the traits, and then it costs 5 less from your hand. So on turn 2, if you've got a 2-cost unit from the turn before, you can play out a 5-cost or less from your hand for free using this card that shares the same trait, which is pretty cool. Now that is Cunning. Now that's what you get with Quinlan. Now we're going to have a look at what you get when you add a base to the mix. So first we're going to start with Vigilance. So this is the more defensive kind of aspect. Offers a nice little bit of healing, protection, and also some cool boosts for like force units, because you've got some really cool kind of units, and the units in Vigilance are better on the heroic or dark side than they are on the normal side. You also have these 2 rare bases as well as your options, so you could either have Security Complex, gives a shield to a non-leader unit once a game, or Pal City, which gives kind of an extra bit of health while he's on board. Now these have lower health, but they can compensate with this aspect by having healing as an option, so healing on your base or units. And you got some pretty nice ones. So you got Quill and Restored Arc as some nice turn 1 plays that you can have in either arena. And they offer some nice cool things, like Restored Arc offers healing onto your base when he swings, and so does Quill. But Quill offers the potential to get more cards, because when he attacks, you discard the top card of your deck, and if it shares an aspect with your base, so a blue card, you'll add it to your hand. Pretty nice cards there, and he offers lots of pretty good stats. Then you got Yoda being a good card from turn 2 onwards, that isn't another force unit for those force benefits, and also offers you Restore 2, so he's healing 2 from your base when he swings, and if he's defeated, you can choose yourself to draw a card. Pretty nice there. Then you got some nice bigger like space and ground units like Obi-Wan's Aether Sprite and Luke Skywalker being very cool units. Obi-Wan's Aether Sprite being a very nice new unit for the space arena, being solid stats, come down the same turn Quinlan comes down, and it's got the great effect that adds to Quinlan being whenever you when it's played or when it attacks, you can deal 1 damage to itself to hit and then deal 2 damage to another space unit to help deal with the space units easier. And you got Luke Skywalker being a big boss for the blue heroic side of blue, being a very nice unit. As Restore 3, so healing 3 from base when it swings, and also when it comes down, it minuses the stats on the unit by 3 on 3. But if something yours was defeated that same phase, it was minus 6/6 instead. Now, the nice benefit of the heroic side of blue is you got some cool events and stuff and upgrades that benefit more from a force unit being played. And what would you know? Quinlan is a force leader. He comes down with the force trait, so you can get some benefits of these, like Jedi Lightsaber being a nice little one there. This is a free cost upgrade that gives you a free boost to the unit that it's equipped to. So Quinlan, it turns for a 3/7 to a 6/10, which is very good stats. And because he's a force unit, you get the benefit of its effect being on attack. Give the defender minus 2/2 for this phase. Any unit it attacks into minuses their stats by 2/2 before they exchange damage. Pretty cool there. And you got some nice events as well. Like you got Mystic Reflection and Forces with Me, which both get more benefits if you got a force unit. And their main things is Mystic Reflection will minus something by 2 power for the cost of 1. And the Forces with Me will allow you to give 2 experience to that unit and attack with it the same turn. So give it a 2/2 boost and then attack with it, well, a permanent 2/2 boost with 2 experience. But then they get more benefits with a Force unit, so a Mystic Reflection will go from minus something by 2 power to minus it by 2 power and 2 health. Whereas the Forces with Me will do the same thing, give 2 experience and attack with a unit, but also give it a shield if it's a Force unit. So very nice benefits there. And then it brings us to the just normal blue stuff. And yeah, like I said, the just normal Vigilance stuff doesn't have the best in terms of units, but they have some cool upgrades and events. So you got some nice units in Padawan Starfighter, Ki-Adi-Mundi, and Chicago Juggernaut being nice units, with Padawan Starfighter being a nice turn 1 unit you can bring out with the Jedi Republic trait to make use of that now there are 2 of them. And also having a more benefit if you have a Force unit, because if you do have a Force unit on board or a Force upgrade, it gains 1/1 to its stats. You got Ki-Adi-Mundi being a nice one, a very good unit with very good stats. And if you have 2 other units on board ways out, if your opponent will play a second card any phase, then you would draw 2 cards. Really nice there. And you got Cargo Juggernaut being a way to heal more. But when it's played, if you control another blue unit, you can heal 4 damage to your base, and it comes in shielded. Now, along with the upgrades, you also have Perilous Position being a nice one. The first upgrade to give minus stats, because it gives minus 2/2 to stats of a unit, and also rest the unit when it's attached as well. So when your opponent deploys a leader, you can equip this to it to exhaust it so they can attack with it, and minus the stats so it's easier to take out. And then you've got some good upgrades. So you've got some nice healing ones in Covert Strength and Binaural Things that give a nice bit of healing. Both technically, in a sense, heal 3 damage, where Covert Strength heals 2, but gives an experience, so you're kind of having 3 health back, and is one you can smuggle out. And it Binaural Things gets more benefit, like we saw with the heroic ones, where you get more benefits with a Force unit, because it allows you to heal 3 damage from a unit, and if you control a Force unit, you can deal that much damage to another unit as well. Pretty nice that. And then you got the instant defeat effects like Tarkin Down, Takedown, and Veil Dragon, which allow to instantly defeat units. And remember, the more lower the cost of the card, the more restrictive it is. So that's Vigilance. This is a way that it's pretty nice to play, so I would recommend to give it a try if you like the more defensive options and more force-focused stuff. Next up, we have Command, and this is, like we said, with the aspects, this is the one that allows you to ramp your resources up and play out loads of things quickly or big things quickly. And you've got some nice things here, like you've got the rare bases being Energy Conversion Lab and Droid Manufacturing. Now, I don't think Droid Manufacturing is going to be that great because there's not much that you're going to want for Coordinate. But Energy Conversion Lab could be a nice one for you because it allows you to ambush Southern Kin, like quite nice, like I say, Alea Secure as well. And like some of these here you got on the screen. but is it worth 25 health, and will it be useful as well for you to decide. But there are some healing cards in command as well, so you can kind of mitigate that lower health total by having healing, like you got Vigilance, but you haven't got as much in command as you would in Vigilance. Now you've got some pretty nice cards. Like you've got the cheap side with Republic Tactical Officer and Battlefield Marine. Battlefield Marine being a really nice one. You can have turn 1, very good stats for its cost. Republic Tactical Officer probably isn't the one you want to play turn 1 because of the fact that it is something you need to have something on board to basically use it, because the effect is when played, you could attack with a Republic card and it gets 2 extra power for that attack, so it's like an attack booster. But playing it turn 1 isn't going to be great, but it does have a good amount of health if you just basically it's the only thing you can do. Then you've got the ones from turn 2 onwards, being Colonel Line and Dire Peacekeeper, both having quite a good bulk, not so much power, but also have some nice things. Like they have Restore, so when they're swinging, a healing back damage your base. And then your alarm will give all ever friendly heroic units an extra 1 health, whilst Dire Peacekeeper has Raid 2, so it's swinging for a bit more power when it does swing. It's pretty nice there. Then you got the higher costing ones like Bright Hope, Ayla Secura, and Home 1 being your more like bigger than units. So you got Bright Hope and Home 1 being your space units, with Bright Hope being a Sentinel for space, and also allowing you to bounce back any of your ground units you have in play back to your hand, so you can draw a card and then have them basically play back out, so you can make use of like one played effects, or if they're almost going to be defeated due to damage, save them up, put them back in your hand so you can play them back out fresh. And you got Home 1, which is a good big 7/7 unit, 8 cost, but it comes in with Restore, so it's going to swing and heal damage from your base. And also what's on board gives all your ever friendly units Restore as well, so they can then heal damage from your base. And when played, it also can bring back a Never unit, but because it plays a heroic unit from your discard pile costing 3 or less. So if it costs 3 or less, it comes out for absolutely free. But if it's high, you have to pay a few more resources to bring it out, but it allows you to bring it out cheaper and potentially put out 2 units on board for Home 1, and also basically put Restore on everything. And then you've got AS Secure being a nice new one, a 5/1. So it can come out the same turn that Quinlan kind of deploys. It's a 5/6, which is pretty good stats, but its effect requires coordinate, so you need to have 2 other units on board with her, which could be easy enough to set up depending. And her effect is essentially when she attacks, you prevent all damage being done to her from that attack. So she attacks and takes no damage back, which is pretty cool. Pretty nice there. And then you got U-Wing Reinforcement being a very cool one. And this is one that is a 7 cost event, very high costing one, but allows you to look at the top 10 cards of your deck and play up to any 3 units up to 3 units with a combined cost of 7 or less out for free from those 10 cards. So you can get one big 7 drop, like say a 6 and a 1, a 5 and a 2, or basically a few of them, like a 2 2s and a 3, essentially depending on what you see there. But you can basically just bring out stuff on top of your deck, and where it plays them for free, it doesn't worry about aspect quantity. So if you've got stuff that's out of aspect from that, they still come out for whatever their cost is, which is cool. So that's the heroic side. Then on the non-heroic side, you still got some pretty nice cards here. Like you got some good units like Yularen, Cobb Vamp, you got 500 First Liberator, and you got Reinforcement Walker. Now they range in usefulness because they're just all pretty good. Like Colonel Yularen is giving you out healing because every time it's heroic unit is played, well, no, sorry, not heroic unit, a command unit is played, including itself, it heals 1 damage to your base. It's pretty nice there. Cobb Vamp allows you to keep your units on board by basically sending things out. By being on board himself, and when he's defeated, you can look at the top 10 cards of your deck, mill one unit from them with a cost of 2 or less from among them, and then anytime that turn, you can play that unit from your discard for free, so keeping a unit on board if you need be. And 500 First Liberator is a pretty nice one, because remember, Quinlan is a Republic unit. He's a Republic leader because he's got the Jedi, Force, and Republic traits. So he's a Republic unit. So when he's deployed, you've always got something on board then for when this card's played, which allows you to, if you control another Republic unit, which Quinlan is, he'll 3 damage to your base, so a nice bit of healing there, and a solid 3 cost free for a unit. Then you got Reinforcement Walker being your bigger of the ends of the heroic unit, well that's the command units, and this one is pretty nice because it's got solid stats, high costing, but its effect triggers both when it's played or when it attacks, and what that is, you get a look at the top card of your deck, you can either draw that card and add it to your hand, or you can discard it, and then if you do, heal 3 damage from your base if you do discard it. So either adding to your hand, so adding to more options for yourself, or getting some healing on the go, which is pretty nice. And then you've got some of the upgrades and events as well. Like you've got the upgrades like General's Blade and Traitorous being really nice ones. General's Blade being a really good one with Quinlan, because if you well, like we've seen with Blue, you have the Jedi's Blade, well no, Jedi Lightsaber, which is a free cost upgrade. It gives a free boost, just like this does. You got the General's Blade being a free cost. It gives a free boost to it. But unlike where the Jedi Lightsaber get the benefit if you are a Force unit, this one gets the benefit from the Jedi. So this is a really nice one where if the unit is attached to as a Jedi, which Quinlan is, then it gets the new benefit of on attack. The next unit you will play this phase costs 2 less. You can start reducing the cost of stuff, so play out things cheaper. And the more turns you have Quinlan out with this equipped, once again, he then goes from a 3-7 to a 6-10 with this, which is really good stats, and starts playing things out cheaper really nicely. You also got Traitorous as well, being a nice upgrade. And normally you're not going to put on your units, but you can put on your opponent's units so you can snatch them. Because what it does is when it's equipped to a unit, if it's 3 or less, then you get to take control of that unit and own it. And then if this gets discarded from the card or the card gets defeated, it's gone. But it's a nice way to kind of just snag your opponent's units. And it's they got like little units that they keep boosting. You can go and take them, and they'll be yours, which is pretty cool. And then you got Timely Intervention and Resupply as really nice events as well. Like Timely Intervention allows you to play a card with Ambush, but you sort of pay the cost of the card, so you're essentially paying a card for 1 more than its normal cost, so it can come in with Ambush, and you can even smuggle this in as well, so it's a nice one on the resource. And then you got Resupply, which is an easy way to ramp, so if you want to get out Quinlan quicker, Resupply is probably one of the best ways to do it, and very easy, just pay free, put this in your play as a resource, now you've got an extra resource there. So that's command. So if you feel like you want to kind of get Quinlan out quicker and even have some like good abuse of General's Blade, you can go ahead and try this out. Then lastly, that brings us to aggression. So it's the last of the aspects that you can get with a base. And this is actually a pretty nice one because you get some cool benefits with force traits and also you get good stuff in the heroic side. So the rare base you can have is Tarkin Town and Shadow Collector Camp, so they vary. Tarkin Town's already a really nice one, especially because it allows you to deal 3 damage to damage non-leader unit. So if you do enough damage but you're just off to take him out, Tarkin Town can help finish his job really easily. And then Shadow Collector Camp just allows you to draw cards, so you can get more options if you want to. That could be an option. You both have the same health, so it depends if you prefer any of these effects. You can go ahead and use them. If you don't reckon they'll be beneficial, just go ahead with 30 health base. And now for the heroic side of aggression, you got some pretty nice units. Like you got some good turn 1 plays in Greenswatch and A-Wing and Sabine Wren, which are both cards you can play turn 1 in either arena, because one's in space and one's in the ground. And well, they don't hit much when they're attacked. When they're attacking, they're hitting for quite a bit, because they've got some pretty nice things like Greenswatch and A-Wing has Raid 2, where Sabine, when it attacks, it either deals 1 damage to the defender or to your opponent's base. And if you've got at least 3 aspects among your other friendly units, she can be untouchable, which is cool. And then you got Red, 3, and Cassie for your turn 2 onwards plays. And once again, another example of cards you can have in either arena. And they probably have some nice benefits. Like Cassian is one that you can play out with got solid stats. Or you can resource it, smuggle out later for 5 when you can do that. And when you do smuggle him, he gets the benefit of coming in ready, so you can attack straight away. Really nice there. And you got Red, 3 being a space unit that, once again, kind of has the same stats as Green Squadron when it attacks, but otherwise it's got the same stats outside of extra power. And it also gives all other friendly units raid 1 as well, so all other friendly units are swinging a little bit harder when they attack as well, which is pretty nice. Normally when you got this on board, this is normally a target to take out because your opponent's worried about this getting too big a boost on your other units with him out. And then you got the other units you can get from like turn 3 onwards. You got things like K2SO and Icon being ones you can get just up to the point when you deploy Kanan, a pretty nice one. Like K2SO being a really nice card, solid stats, and does piercing as well. And if he is defeated, well, if she is defeated, I can't remember. So yeah, if K2SO is defeated, then you get to either do 3 more damage to your opponent's base, which is pretty nice option, or make him discard a card from the hand, so you get a bit of hand control, which you can get some really nice stuff of with aggression. Then you got Anakin Skywalker being a nice one. Like it could be a cheaper version of Poe if you don't want to play Poe, and also got the benefits of being a Force and lightsaber. So you got the benefits with now there are 2 of them, basically getting this out on turn 2 with now there are 2 of them, and its effect is all revolving around coordinates. So if you've got 2 other units on board alongside him, essentially when he attacks, he draws you a card, so he gives you more options, which is nice. And then your bigger units you have then after, you have Wrecker and Mace Windu. Wrecker being a nice one. Big stats, 7, 6 cost, but 7 power, 6 health, with overwhelm as well. And then when it's played, you can defeat one of your resources to do 5 damage to something, which is pretty cool. And you got Mace Windu being your big, Vader version, like your version of Vader for the light side of red, because it comes down same stats, also ambush, but when it defeats a unit, it restands, so you can then attack more units, almost like potentially board clear if you want to, or then swing at your opponent's base after you've taken out something. So it's really nice there. Then on the non-heroic side of aggression, you got some pretty cool stuff. Like you've got, like I always put in aggression, like it just seems to be the staple is Wolf and Disabling Fagfire. These are pretty nice ones because Wolf is one that allows you to shut off healing. So when it's played or attacks, makes it so bases can't be healed. So if your opponent's playing like say blue or something, they're trying to heal the base, Wolf can put a stop to that. And you got the Disabling Fagfire and being able to knock off those pesky upgrades, being like experience, shields, or even upgrades you put on, like those lightsabers. And there's more good ones with this set. You also got some new ones from this set as well, like Staligar and Kit Fisto. Kit Fisto being a new never force unit you can play out. Basically same stats as Wrecker, just without the heroic side and also the traits. But then instead of Overwhelm, it's got Saboteur, so it ignores Sentinels and Shields. And its effect is on requires Coordinate as well, because on attack, if you've got 2 other units on board alongside him, you can deal 3 damage to a ground unit. So it could be pretty handy. But then we got Stella being a nice one, and she's got slightly less stats in terms of K2 or so, like the 4 cost sales as well. Also 4 power, but only has 3 health instead of 4. But she has a nice effect that gives some good utility. Because what it does is when it's played or defeated, you can deal 2 damage to your base, and if you do, you switch the top 8 cards of your deck for a tactic card, reveal it and draw it. Now, tactics are mostly in the events, and there's some really good ones. Like all the removal event, or mostly all the removal events in blue, like with Take Down, Follow Dragon, and Revel's Fall, they're tactic events, so you can search those from it. And then you got these ones down below as well, like Pillage and Open Fire, are also tactic events you can search from there. So there's a fair few good ones you can look out for, and that's pretty nice. And even though you won't be getting those blue ones with with Quinlan, when you're playing red, you can still get things like Open Fire and Pillage, because Open Fire is pretty nice, just for free cost event that does 4 damage to a unit, really nice. And Pillage being a 4 cost event that makes your opponent discard 2 cards from the hand. And I say opponent because you can choose a player, and you're not going to choose yourself to discard 2, you can choose your opponent. And then with the other event we've got is Force Throw, which once again gets a benefit with having a Force unit, and that's what Quinlan is. So while Quinlan's on board, you can use this to make your opponent discard a card, or choose a player making discard a card, so you or your opponent. Sometimes it is relevant for this one to discard your own card. And then if you control a Force unit, you can deal damage to a unit equal to the cost of the discarded card. So sometimes you might choose yourself to discard a card, so you're guaranteed that certain amount of damage through that effect. Or if you don't really care about the amount of damage too much and you just want to make your opponent discard, you can use it on them. But then remember, it's player's choice. So if you do use it on your opponent, they discard a cheaper one, so that way you do less damage. And we got Hotshot DL44 Blaster. Now, while this is a red card, it works in any build of Quinlan no matter what, because it gets better benefits when you smuggle it. And when you smuggle it, the aspect required is Cunning, which Quinlan is. So this is a nice one where usually it would take 2 actions to fulfill what it wants to do by smuggle, by equipping it to a unit for 1, and giving 2 power boosts, and then attack on a unit that takes 2 actions. But by smuggling it, you get the one player uses smuggle effect, which allows you to attack with that attached unit. So essentially you get 2 actions in 1 by smuggling it out, equipping to a unit, attack with it, all in 1 action, which is pretty cool, which is why it's such a good card. And those are all the benefits you can get for like aggression, not all of them, but most of them you can get. And aggression is a very nice one because Force Throw is just one of the reasons why red is so good with a Force unit, and it could be a good reason to play it. And I think it's one that people have speculated could be really good, and people have been trying it already as well, so you can give it a try. And that brings us to the last of the cards, being the Heroism cards, because as I said before, that the Heroism and Villainy traits also coming with cards that are just that trait. And we got some pretty nice ones, and the thing is with the Heroism and Villainy ones, they're more focused on a certain trait in each one. So in set 1, it's focused on Heroism, was on Rebels, while Villainy was on Imperials. And since Quinlan's not a Rebel, and there's not much Rebel focus on it, it's not that great. But for set 1, you still have R2-D2 and C-3PO from the starter decks that are pretty nice, because they didn't require the need of like Rebel effects. They're just useful cards that can be good standalone, or whether combinations, or with themselves, or with each other, sorry. And with set 2, that was all focused on Underworld, and on the light side of it, you had more focus on like Wookiees and bounty, like Mandalorians and stuff. So there wasn't much benefit, but you do have Tech, which is a nice one, because it's a good, pretty nice unit That also then gives all your friendly resources smuggle, meaning that your resources are now like an extra hand while he's on board, and you can use smuggle himself out. And he also has solid stats to boot. And then with set 3, it's focused on the Republic and the Separatists. So for the good side, it's all focused on the Republic stuff, and it's mainly on clones and the Republic vehicles and things like that. So there wasn't many things that I thought were great, but the nice ones you potentially use are the Phase 2 Clone Trooper, which is a 3-cost 3-2 unit that has ambush, so you can snap straight away. It is a light unit. And you got Tranquility being one that's like a big space unit, a 7-cost 7/6. But when it's played, it can get back any Republic unit from your discard pile to your hand, so it can get back some pretty nice stuff. And then when it attacks, you are able to then make the next 3 Republic cards you played this phase cost 1 less each. So that way you can play out a few more things, or even make something that would normally not be able to play that turn a little bit cheaper, so it can be, which is cool. Then that brings us to the last part of the video, and that is what my preferred aspects for this leader would be, because this is something that I did get asked quite a bit when I did my first and second set of the series. And now the first set, I thought I'd just improve it and add them in, so that way you got as much information as possible. So if you're still stuck on the fence about it, at least know what my preferences will be. So my preferred aspects would be blue with Quinlan, because there's just so much cool stuff, and I do love blue. I like Cunning is one of my favorite aspects, and I'm loving blue in Star Wars. And you get some really cool benefits. So you get Jedi lightsaber put on Quinlan that make him turn from a 3/7 to a 6/10. That's then taking out anything with 8 health or more and making Quinlan a pretty big threat. You also have things like Hello there for nice control, making something that's played this phase cost -4/4 to the stats, potentially taking him out or making it easy to take out. And you've got powerhouses like Luke Skywalker as options to play out as well, which is really cool. And those blue ones on top of things like now there are 2 of them and things like that make for a very, very nice aspect combo for Quinlan. And the other one I'd probably play as well, if I wasn't playing blue, would be Command, because Command just offers some really nice stuff as well. Just like how you got Jedi lightsaber if you play blue with Quinlan, you have General's Blade with green, and that's really, really cool because it gets the same amount of boost from him from a 3/7 to a 6/10, but also now making it so every time he swings, he's then making something cost 2 less at your next play, so any unit 2 less, you can play bigger things cheaper and getting some good value, dropping things turns earlier, or even like 2 turns earlier than it would normally come out. You also got some nice Jedi cards like Ayla Secure as well, which you make use with like some ambush. And you want U-wing reinforcement and then spam the board with loads more units and go wide with your board as well. So very cool combos, and these are 2 aspect combos that I'll probably play, and would more focus on the blue one than the green in personal preference. And that is it for this video. So that is everything for Quinlan Vos, so hopefully that's helped you understand how to build Quinlan's Vos to suit you and your playstyle, and give you as much help and possibilities as it could. I might have a deck prof at some point with some of the options, or even I'm trying to do like some other ideas for content, but that is it for now. So we've covered all the leaders from the third set, Twilight Republic, and for the next week we'll be covering the 2 starter deck ones, and maybe doing some updated ones as well from previous leaders now it's set 3. So that's it from me today. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and any questions or advice you have, drop in the comments. I'll answer as best I can. And with that, that is me done for the day, and I'll thank you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.
Like a boss.